I want to show you how to add real-time data for basically for weather today. Again, I will show you in a way that you can also use it for other APIs basically as well. Okay, I will show you there's a main pattern and I will show you exactly what this is, what you have to figure out when you start using an API, how you can try it simply inside your browser. Okay, and then also how you get this into JavaScript, how you get the data into JavaScript, how you can start using it, and how you can bring this, for example, into a pop-up. This is the example that I have prepared for today, but you can, I don't know, depending on what data you get, you can create tables, you can create charts and everything like that, okay, totally as well. Like, for example, I love using chart.js. This is a pretty cool one. So why does it matter to use APIs? To use real-time weather data, for example, or real-time fire, traffic, sensors, whatever. So most useful WebGIS applications, they don't just use static shapefile or GeoJSON files or stuff like that. Actually, most of the time, or many of them, they are talking to APIs actually and getting weather data, fire data, traffic, other sensors. Okay. Today, you will learn this pattern and how to use it in your apps. Okay, so we will do this. We will understand this on the example of the Open Meteo API. Okay, it's a pretty cool one. So we will check the docs briefly. Okay, we will take a sample URL, check this in the browser, and then I will show you how you are using that basically in JavaScript. Okay, so I will show you how you can create something cool like this. Okay, like for Rome. Okay, you have the location of Rome, and then you can get the time, for example, and the temperature, the current temperature that we have for Roma in this moment. Okay, so let's go with this one. And so as I told you, let's quickly see the documentations on how you're actually using this before we go into any code actually, okay? Because this is usually easier. So what you do is you type in here. You guys don't type this in this moment, okay? Just look at me after the session. I will also give you the code. If I forgot this, please remember me. So you type, for example, the URL to the API that you are interested in. Okay, so this is a free weather API. I mean, not free like for millions of calls, but for many calls. It's a great one to just try to play around so far, okay, and see how they work. And of course, you can use them in real applications, okay. Of course, there's some pricing behind that, okay. Like if you're, for example, start using this commercially and 1 million API calls per month, okay, then you have to pay like 29 euro per month. Maybe there's something in US dollars and in your currency maybe as well. I'm getting this in this moment. Basically, when you think about, often you're creating applications, not just like tutorial applications, okay, that you find on Udemy or this kind of stuff, but usually when you have real clients, they pay for something that they actually earn money with as well, or they save a lot of money. And often it's like in terms of, you will like 10,000 US dollars or 100,000, okay, and then think about paying 29 euro per month. So euro is about US dollars. Similar, okay, very similar to US dollars. And just think about this number. It's ridiculous. Okay, it's actually it's actually neglectable. Okay, so and of course, when you come to 5 million calls, still 100 around, still ridiculous. Okay, so and then usually, often you will make even more money with this or save money. Even this is often where people pay for for applications in the real world, okay, not for tutorial applications that just grab some weather data or something like this, but something that solves something real, like that you get, like you are a farmer and you're getting forecasts and how you can like act in order to save your crops, or like when you're about to see that your crops are going like yeah, in the negative direction or something like this, then you can, yeah, there's where people pay a lot money, yeah, a lot of money for this, so they can save this, and yeah, then you can tell them before, like, hey, this is what happens in the next 24 hours. Make sure that, yeah, you're doing the best to, yeah, put in the work, like, or for logistics, maybe, like when the trucks are going somewhere where the weather is getting really severe, and yeah, you can just tell them, hey, actually go another route, okay, because there will be a really bad weather where your usual route is, so go a little bit around that, and then you're way safer, okay, and you will get in time there, especially when you're transporting food or something like this, that it doesn't get wasted, that it doesn't get, yeah, fucked up. Okay, so let's go. And basically how you're using this is usually, you can find this here in the API docs. Okay, you will find in most of, like, if it's for fire, if it's for flood, you will find somewhere some API docs, okay, documentations. And it's actually easier than it sounds. Often, like this one, the Open Meteo API, is done extremely good. I would say it's really, you can put your latitude, your longitude there. Okay, this is around for Berlin here, where I am in this moment. Okay, then you can say, hey, what do you want to have? Actually, I want to have the forecast for the 7 days and also the past days if you wanted to. Okay, like how long. And of course, like hourly weather variables like the temperature, or whatever you want, like the snow depth, the snowfall. um, I don't know, they have a lot of stuff like wind, um, relative humidity, dew point, apparent temperature, precipitation, probability, and stuff like that. Okay. And you see that 2 meters here, it's basically, usually they measure like 2 meters above the ground. This is basically what it means here. You can get also soil temperature and a lot of other crazy things here. Okay. It's really cool. Like sunrise, sunset, they have so many things, and I think they even have like wave forecasts and some and stuff like that. Okay, and then you can of course put your settings here like Celsius or Fahrenheit, like the wind kilometers, the wind speed unit, and stuff like that. And basically, they have here a really cool example for us. So this URL here is very important. We'll make this a little bit bigger for you guys that you can see it easier. And basically the first part, like this part, HTTPS, API open-meteor.com version 1 v1 forecast, okay, is this is not actually showing to like a web page or something. It's actually showing, it's actually pointing us to a script. Okay. And there's a script behind that's expecting a couple of parameters. Okay. Like you have a function in Python and JavaScript, you most probably have heard about functions, and they are using parameters. And this is exactly what you give over here. And you say, hey, the latitude, like you want to, of course, when you want to get the weather, you have to tell like what is your location, where, for which location do you want to have the weather, and then you say latitude, okay, and the longitude, okay, this is around Berlin here again, and an hourly, or what you actually want to have, like hourly temperature to meter. Okay, this is basically how most of them work. So you have this question tag, and after that, you have the parameters. Okay, like latitude equals the value, longitude equals the value. Okay, and in between the parameters, you usually put, yeah, these n tags, n%, you say, like these n signs here. And then you say hourly equals what do you want for like hourly, okay, the temperature. And the cool thing here with the Open Meteo API is actually that you can say, or that you can click here, actually, I also want to understand like the rain. Okay, then you can click this one and it will automatically add this for you to the URL. It's pretty cool. So this is basically then the information that you get. And now you see here, even open in a new tab. Okay, this is the API URL, and it's actually giving you like the temperature and the rain for this location. Okay, this is basically in human language. You guys know that. And you can open this in a new tab. Okay, or you can copy this URL into your application. The cool thing is this URL, it works in the browser, and it's for all of the APIs usually like this, okay? Like 99.9%, when if not even 100%, it works. Like you can test them directly in your browser, or you can put the URL directly in your application. Both of them works. And in your application means you can use them directly with JavaScript. And there's a really cool function that does exactly like getting this data here. Okay, it's not easy to read in this moment, but I have a cool what is it, extension here where I can click on, and then I can actually see this way better. Okay, and this is like this URL when you put this into the browser or you're using this in your application, a request happens. Okay, sending this request to a script on the open or API openmeteo.com server. Okay, there's a script. It will take this, like it can be Node.js, can be GeoDjango, can be C#, something like this. We don't need to care, it can be Java or something like that. This script will take our parameters, okay, and will most probably request the database, like, or wherever they have their data in, okay? We don't need to care. It's abstracted from us. We don't need to care about this. It just, we need to understand, okay, this is basically the pattern that I put inside here to get the data that I want to have. And basically, this script will request now the database. The database will give the script an answer. And in the script, usually they have like something that creates this response. Exactly the one that you're seeing here. Okay. And wait a second, I think it's pretty small, or so it's basically when you can see that here, this is again a JavaScript object, or it's at least JSON. Okay. This one is also used in Python, as you know this in Python as a dictionary. In JavaScript, it's basically a JavaScript object. And JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. Okay, so you can use this in Python, you can use this in JavaScript, you can use this in C++ and anywhere else. Okay, because in most of the programming languages, or actually in all of them, they have this pattern here somehow. Okay, and basically it gives us back like the latitude and the longitude that we actually have typed in ourselves. Okay, it gives us a generation time, like to make this response here, and a couple of other information, like the elevation for the latitude, longitude. Okay, maybe you need that. The hourly units that we are actually using, like the time, it's telling us it's in this specification. Okay, the temperature basically is in degrees Celsius, and the rain is in millimeter. Okay, and also we get like the hourly data and exactly about what we were requesting. Basically, it was the temperature and the rain. So it gives us, you can see here's the time. Here's the time. Here's the temperature, and here's the rain. And now you see, whenever you see the square bracket, it means it's an array basically in JavaScript. Okay, in Python that is a list, okay, as you would call it, and the order of the time, okay, is the same as the order that you have here for the temperature and for the rain. Okay, this means the first value, like for last night, is it? Yeah, last night, 12 o'clock, or like midnight, let's say, is exactly meaning we had a temperature here in Berlin of 21.1 degrees and a little bit of rain. Okay, in the next hour, like 1 o'clock in the morning, we had 20.2 degrees and no rain here, okay, 0. And this is how you can use that, how you can understand this, okay? So now let me show you how you can actually use this in a real application. And often, like, as I told you, for most of the APIs, you will get back like exactly something like this around, okay? Sometimes it's more like a GeoJSON really, sometimes it's more like a general JSON, okay? Like simply having the data inside here, but it's always defined. And when they give you a response like the Open Meteo API here, it always looks like this, always, okay? They don't, without telling you actually, they don't suddenly change something, okay? So it's always in this way so that you can create your application in a way that will usually always work, okay? Some APIs, they might return it in a different way, like really a GeoJSON file or something like this. Some APIs, they return a CSV representation. Okay, sometimes you can also ask like, hey, do you also have JSON? And they have also options to get JSON, but some of them still have CSV, but most of the APIs, they go over to JSON, okay? But still some of them have CSV format, which is not a big deal because you can just read this inside, like popup parse is a cool library for JavaScript, especially for the front end, that you can actually also read the data and use it directly in JavaScript. Or I think the Mapbox guys, they have something that is called CSV to GeoJSON or CSV to JSON, something like that. And they with that, you can actually parse your CSV response into JSON, GeoJSON even, okay? This is really cool just to mention this quickly. But basically, you will always get back something like this. And now, how do you work with this in JavaScript? Okay, let me show you how this works on this little cool application that I've created here for you guys. Let me make this a little bit bigger for you. Hope you can read this well. If not, just let me know. And our application, again, basically looks like this one here. Okay, it has a pop-up for Rome with the time and the temperature. So how do we get this here? And how does it actually work? How does it look like in JavaScript now? So basically, you know, it starts with an HTML page, everything like this is the beginning of it. Here is the end of the HTML page. Usually you have a header, okay, with the meta information, like what is your character set, what is the title of your application, what libraries are we using, like we are using Leaflet with its CSS file so that we have, like, you know, when you're loading in Leaflet, you're having this plus and minus button, for example, and this needs some styling already. Okay, this is, for example, what you have the CSS for. And then here you're loading in the Leaflet JavaScript API so that you can actually bring in easily some map with a base map, adding some markers on it, adding some pop-ups and stuff like this, okay, if you haven't worked with Leaflet before. And you have a style, and the style is basically for the parts that are in the body. So what are the body parts? Usually the body parts are the visual parts, okay, the stuff that people actually see. And here we have a div inside with the ID map, okay, and I gave it the ID map in order, because Leaflet needs that in order to understand that it should put the map here later on. Not because I've written ID map here, but because I'm using exactly this map word in or with Leaflet together. Okay, I could also have called this here ABC map or something like this. Then I would also need to write here ABC map. Okay, whatever. I mean, it doesn't need to contain the word map. Okay, this is not the point. Can have any name that you actually want. Of course, I told you in the body is usually the visual parts, yes, except of course when there's a script part inside, okay, like here is with JavaScript. And I have defined here, to keep this quick and simple for today, I've defined here the latitude and the longitude simply for Rome, okay, in Italy. And then the next thing I've created here is the map, okay. So basically this creates a leaflet map. So this l.map, if you haven't used Leaflet before, it's creating a map. You can also do it like this, and then say map. Okay, so this is the map. It's only a map. Actually don't see anything inside, okay? But it's creating the map exactly inside that map div here, or in the div, in the container, basically with the ID map. And in order to make this like visible over the whole page, I told the styling here, basically the CSS, that hey, put the map basically over the whole page here, all right? So height and width of pretty much 100%. And then here, after creating the map, I say that, hey, the map, set the view actually to the latitude and the longitude, okay, that I've used here for Rome. I think that makes sense. Okay, setting the view there, centering the map there, and this is basically a zoom. And you guys might think like, hey, where should I know what I put here? Basically, you're looking like in Leaflet, in the documentation. If you look for Leaflet, map set view, like if you Google for that one, you will see exactly what parameters you have to put here, okay? This is basically how WebGIS development works. And then what I do next is, okay, I have a base map now, but actually there I have a map. No, I have a map only, okay, but nothing inside. So I want to make sure I put a base map inside, and basically in Leaflet, it works like this. You can, for example, use a tile layer. OpenStreetMap is very often used. Give it an attribution here so that you make sure that you give them the attribution, okay, like the credits, and then you add this tile layer simply to the map. Okay, that's basically it. So the tile layer here has a method. We call this in programming a function, basically, that we can add this tile layer to the map that we have created here. And this is exactly the moment where the tile layers are retrieved from the server, from the OpenStreetMap server here, and Leaflet will take the tile layers and put them on the map. Okay, so that makes sense that we see the map actually in this cool container here. Then I created a cool function actually where I start using the Open Meteo API, okay, to get the weather. Now, how do I do that? Basically, this is the function, okay, and the function is always executed when I'm actually calling this. And here, usually in JavaScript, many other languages, I defined the function before I actually call this. Okay, so in the end, after I defined everything, I will just call the function. Okay, remember or imagine the browser always reads your stuff from top to the bottom. Okay, so here at this point, it will eventually, or it sees load weather, and it knows, this was this function that was defined here. Okay, cool. Then let's go. It jumps basically, or JavaScript, the browser jumps here into that function and starts reading everything from here. Starts creating the URL. And this is exactly the URL that I've shown you guys before that I've used in the browser, but now for Rome. Okay, so how does this work technically? This looks a bit strange here. I'm creating actually a string here, okay, which is, or we call it string. You guys know most probably. So basically it's a sequence of characters. Okay, this is the technical definition of a string, but often for us humans, it's like a text or a URL or can be whatever, okay, something like that around. And I'm creating here dynamically a URL with the latitude and the longitude that I've actually defined here on the top, okay, for Rome. Okay, it's taking exactly that latitude and that longitude. And it's requesting the temperature 2 meters above ground, exactly what we have done before. Okay, so maybe the best is we jump into the application and I quickly show you what's actually going on here. So whenever you're unsure what your code is doing or you want to test what your code doing is go here into the source code, open the source code. This is pretty small, right? You guys might not be able to read this, so let me make this larger. Let's bring this in. Maybe this one is interesting. So I will put a breakpoint here. What is that breakpoint? The breakpoint is the best thing that you can do, you can use as a developer. Okay, because it shows exactly where you are in your code, what it's doing and stuff like this. So again, when I refresh the page, the browser starts reading everything from top to the bottom. It reads your load weather. Okay, will jump into this function, and where the breakpoint is, it will stop for us. Okay, so it's exactly here. Now with F10, I can jump into the next line. And when I just see the URL now, I can see it created exactly a URL to what we have used, what I've shown you, like here in the documentations before, okay? But with the latitude and longitude of Rome this time, okay? You can even do this like Leaflet has cool functionalities like that people click on the map and you get like where people have clicked and you are using exactly the latitude and longitude where the people have clicked, okay? This is cool stuff that you can use. And then you're using exactly, the same here, the latitude of where the user has clicked and as well longitude, okay? So you're putting that instead if you wanted to. So let's go here. I've used, of course, latitude and longitude. That comes from here simply. The URL and when you see here, this is the URL. So when I take this one, I will copy this and I will put this in a new tab. This is actually not what I copied. Let me see again. Let's do it again. So now I have these double quotations here because of the definition of a string in JavaScript. So I have to take them out, of course, that they work with a real URL. And when I click here, we are getting exactly that response. Okay, but now this time for Rome. All right, with the times for today and with the temperatures for Rome. Oh, Berlin was warmer than Rome last night. That's also interesting. Okay, cool. So now we have the URL. But now you think like, okay, we have used this URL in the browser, in the address bar. So how do I use that thing now in JavaScript? And JavaScript has a really cool function. It's called the fetch function. And you can just give it as the parameter the URL, and it will do a request to the browser, to the server of the Open Meteo API guys, okay, to the script. The script will do its work and will send a response back to the fetch, to this function. And this response we can take from this function and store it here. Okay, so when I click F10, this line is getting executed. So in this moment, you have seen how fast this was, like sending the request and getting the response. You have seen how fast this was. And the response now is inside here. We get a status of 200. This usually means everything was fine. Everything went fine. Okay. And the thing now is the response is not exactly something that we can read, but the response has a function, a method called JSON. And we can use this in order when we know that we get a JSON response, and you have seen this is exactly what we are getting here. If you're getting text, like for CSV, you would actually be using here text instead of JSON, okay? But we know we have JSON, so we can use this right away. So when I execute this line, F10, and we have exactly the data that we had here in the response, we have this now in JavaScript with the elevation, with the generation time, the latitude and the longitude, with the hourly temperature and time, and the hourly units. All of this is now in the variable data, and we can just grab it from there. So how do we do that? Can type, for example, data dot, for example, if we want to check the hourly units so far, hourly units, and then you see, okay, it has a time and a temperature. So let's get it for the temperature, maybe. And you see you're getting exactly that information, degrees in Celsius. Can, of course, do the same for the hourly information. And you see we have a time array and we have a temperature array. So let's get temperature. Temperature 2 meters. Oops, I was a bit too quick here. It was not actually written inside. So temperature 2 meter. Then you see, okay, we actually get this array here with all the temperatures. For midnight, for 1 p.m., 1 a.m. is it, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5, 6, 7, and so on, okay? And now, in order to get a specific value, if you have worked with JavaScript, if you have the fundamentals and you know how to grab data from this array, you know what you have to do. You can simply, or I will tell you in this moment what you can do, like for, you know, the first temperature was for midnight, but in, you know, it's not, you're not using a 1 in programming, but you're using a 0. Okay, so it's 19 degrees Celsius, was it? Is this correct? Exactly. So this is for midnight for, let's say, 0 o'clock. Okay, so now we have, for me, it's year 2047. Okay, so if I put in here actually 20, then this should be the temperature that we have currently in Rome. Okay, 22.5. Let's check this. Rome temperature. Yeah, they have 24 here. Okay, they have a little bit different. So they are not copying the data from each other. Okay, maybe let's see. 20, maybe they have it still for this time. Yeah, 20, 23.7. Maybe it depends where exactly this was in Rome here. Maybe I have something from the outside part of Rome or closer to the sea or something. Maybe they took it from some of the hotter places. Then, of course, it can differ. Okay, cool. This is our temperature. And yeah, we have this basically here in data, everything. Okay, and now we can use this here. This is what you do in JavaScript in order to get the data that we got back from the response. Okay, you will say, hey, data. So data is basically all of this here. But when you say data, like, you know, this is like a JavaScript object, or in Python, you would do the same. You say data dot hourly dot time, or maybe you're more interested in the temperature dot temperature underscore 2m, and then square brackets 0 will give you exactly that one. If you wanted to get all the temperatures, you can, for example, use a loop or something and show it to people. I don't know, whatever you have, whatever you want to do. Okay, you have all, you can do everything that you basically want with that. Okay, and the cool thing is now most of the APIs exactly do the same thing. Okay, sometimes the responses, they might look a little bit different or they have a different structure, but in the end, you can always say data dot fire dot displays dot, I don't know, whatever. Okay, so just understand or just go through the structure here, how they have built it. Like maybe for fire, they have like a lot of places with like a polygon for the region if they have, or just a point feature, and like, I don't know, what is the temperature, what is the center of the fire, I don't know, something like that. Okay, can be extremely different, or you just need to check their data. Usually by just reading through it, you will understand it very often already. Okay, but what we wanted to do now is we wanted to push, or we wanted to create that pop-up, okay, simply so far today. And you have seen in data, we have basically the response data, like the JSON data. And what I took is here in JavaScript, there's a cool function, date get hours. This gets exactly an integer for the hour that we are in right now. And you have seen this integer, like, for example, we have it now 2051 is it for me here in the lower right. It will give me 20. Okay, maybe we are closer to 21. Maybe you can round it if you wanted to or whatever. It will basically give me the hour. And you know, it's very simple. At least with what we have requested, it always starts with 0. So when I put 20 there, I know that I get it for this hour. So I have used this to get simply the temperature or the time and the temperature for this hour. Okay, from, you have seen this, data, hourly, time for this hour. Okay, if you always want to have simply like, I just want to know what was midday, okay, you put a 12 here or something like that. Data, hourly, temperature to meter, and I use my hour, like 20. Okay, so I get exactly that data. And then I have the time and the temperature. Okay, of course, yeah. Regarding the time, you guys are right. I have something like this. It's not very nice, but it's still readable for most of the people. I could take this now. There are a lot of JavaScript functionalities that could split this, or you can simply use the split function or the replace function and say, hey, replace the T here with a white space simply. It would already be nicer to read, okay? But to keep it simple and quick for today, I just use the time as it comes out of the array and the temperature as it comes out of the array. Then in Leaflet, in order to create a marker, you simply say, hey, L marker, Leaflet, marker. Okay, you're using the marker function, give it the latitude and the longitude for where you want to put the marker. This is how it works in Leaflet. And then you actually say marker. Okay, so with that, you create the marker and then you say, hey, add this marker that I've just created to the map. Okay, this marker is now actually just in this line in the cache. Okay, it doesn't exist, like you cannot see it. But with this one, you say actually put it in the map and you can see the marker. And a marker has also a cool method in Leaflet that you can bind a pop-up, that you can create a pop-up for the marker. And you can simply put text inside, but you can also put HTML inside. So what I've done is simply I put the city name, like with B, this simply makes it bold, like the text. Then I put a break there, and then I said time plus time, like exactly the time that we have requested, like from the response break, okay, so that it goes into the next line, okay, that not everything is in one line. Temperature plus temp, so that I'm creating here actually simply a string that is concatenated with these plus. And you can simply put numbers inside. Usually JavaScript is strong enough these days in handling this that it can concatenate strings and numbers, so that it makes sense. And then I just put here degrees in Celsius. But I could actually have said here, hey, data, what is it, hourly underscore unit, and then temp, I don't know what it was. What did we get? Like hourly units dot temperature 2 meters, and then I would get this, because sometimes maybe people actually request Fahrenheit, and then I have, yeah, in this moment, like I have done this here, I have degrees Celsius there, okay, but then I have it dynamic and it would always be the correct unit, okay. All right, and then I say directly, hey, after creating this pop-up, after binding this pop-up to the marker, simply open that pop-up, okay, so right away. And then it's done with this function and it will go like here into the next line, but actually there's nothing. So actually my script is finished. All right, and then in the end, when I take out all of this stuff, or let's maybe debug this quickly. So here you see get hours. So I get the hour. For now, it's still 20. Okay. It's a little hack simply to get kind of the current time. And then I said, okay, data, hourly, time, and then give me number 20. Okay, number 20 is this one here. So for 8 p.m. CT is this here. And this one gives me data, hourly, temperature, 20, 22.5, 22.5. Okay, then I create the marker with at the latitude and longitude of Rome, find the pop-up, open it, and you see it already here. And then press F8 to resume, otherwise the browser will jump to crazy places that you don't need to, or don't need to go actually. So, and then we finally see this pop-up here. Okay, I can click somewhere else. When I click again on the marker, it's still there, of course. So that's the time, that's the temperature. Okay, this is how you guys are working with APIs. Okay, it's basically, yeah, understanding how the API works. Okay, how you have to build basically the URLs. This is what you basically or fundamentally have to understand how you build the URLs. You can test them anytime in the browsers, usually, okay, 99.9%. And then you can use it in JavaScript directly with the fetch function, usually. And when you know it's a JSON, you use that function, like you have a response, then this response, you tell, hey, get me a JavaScript object here so that I can actually, because here it's not a, it's kind of text more or something, whatever comes back here, okay? But when you say this, it's really something that you can work with in JavaScript, like a JavaScript object, okay, with key and value pairs, like that you can say really data, hourly, time, and get really the data that's inside. Okay, this is why we are doing this line. Okay, cool. What else do I have for you guys today? Yeah, basically that was the mini app. Rough step was create a base map with Leaflet, can use MapLever, can use ArcGIS Maps SDK for JavaScript, whatever you want. We have created a single HTML file with the map, have used the URL, putting this together, using it with fetch, getting a JSON, extract the current hours temperature from the arrays, okay, and create a mark and pop-up at the location, and then we have displayed that, okay, very simple. This is basically the steps that we have gone through. Okay, thanks guys for your time.